Gamers. Yesterday, Games Workshop gave us a preview of the upcoming Blackstone Fortress game. It's essentially Warhammer Quest, but for 40K, so it's a tabletop RPG using elements of the 41st Millennium to do kind of a dungeon explorer type board game. And so we have a bunch of different explorers, and they've been releasing some of the preview images for those models. And yesterday, we got our second new explorer, and that is a Kroot mercenary. So this is pretty exciting for me. I'm a huge Kroot fan, and so I'm very happy to see a new Kroot model. This is the first official Kroot model produced by Citadel since Angkor Proc for Games Day, almost 2 decades ago. So it's been a long time coming since we got a new Kroot model. So I kind of want to take a look at it and pick it apart and see what it might give us hints about the future of Kroot. Okay, so just first impressions, this looks awesome. It's very well painted, and so some of it's hard to tell what's paint and what's actual sculpting, but overall it looks great. We would expect that from Games Workshop right now. But there are a few notable changes to this model and a few notable consistencies with this model and the previous Kroot model. So starting at the top, basically it looks like the quills are probably the same length. A lot of the same structure as the quills that are on the current Kroot model. This one does have like a headband though, and I think that looks kind of odd because it gives this weird kind of division between the quills and the scalp of the Kroot. So I'm not a huge fan of that, but it's fine. Basically, it has some tattoos, probably some markings lower down on the scalp. That's something that's not on the current Kroot model. This is one of those things that I'm not sure how much of that is paint and how much of that is actually represented on the model. But I think the biggest change that we're going to see in this model is right here at the head. You look at the jaw and at the face of the Kroot, and it's much more flat than the face of Kroot currently. So Kroot currently have a bit more of a bill, but more of a beak on top. They have an upper jaw. They have, something that's going to chomp down. This Kroot does not have that. This Kroot has a much more defined lower jaw. And I think that's a great change. I think it gives them a really, it makes them look like they would really hurt if they bit you, much more than they do so currently. There's not quite the same bird-like beak that you see on the current model. They don't look like parrots. They look like their own type of creature, which I think is really cool. It also has a bit of looks like jewelry right around the bottom of the jaw. That's something different. The other big change that you'll see is, of course, the cloak and shoulder pad. These are not the same as current bits that are in the Kroot kit. This is an entirely new sculpt for this part, and I think it looks great. I really hope that they bring this forward with any future Kroot pieces, but I think right away this makes this model stand out amongst your army. So if you were to pick this up, it would make this model stand out and serve as a shaper very well. It gives it enough of a distinctive silhouette that you'd be able to pick it out on your tabletop without having to worry about losing your shaper. But otherwise, other than the cloak here though, there's a lot of things that are not different. The arms look pretty much identical to the arms on current Kroot. The gun is identical to current Kroot guns. You can make a Kroot that has the same posture using the bits that are in the Kroot kit today. So there's not a lot of new things going on here with the actual model. The pistol and ammo and pouches and stuff that are on his legs, those are based on bits that are in the current Kroot Carnivore kit. And his boots, I guess you would call them, I guess they're boots. Those are very similar to the boots that are on the Kroot rider on a Krootox. So these themselves are not very different or very novel, but the model as a whole is. And I think that's really exciting that we have a new Kroot model. It looks great. Even though it's using some of the old elements, the way that they've incorporated those in with newer elements really gives it a contemporary feel, which is good. Okay, so this raises a big question about what's next for Kroot. We've been talking on this channel about the potential for a Kroot mini codex, like via Kill Team or something like that. And what does this mean for that? Well, really it means nothing, right? Like Games Workshop can release one model and then they can release another model 2 months later and have it be completely different and not related at all. So it's not really a cause and effect type situation here, but it might give us some hints about what the future might bring. I think in general, the fact that there's a Kroot in this box is not necessarily great news for people that are looking for a Kroot release. It might be a way for them to kind of gauge the interest in Kroot. If people are showing a lot of enthusiasm for this one model, that might provoke them to investigate or produce more Kroot models in the future. But overall, I think that this might be at least partially some sort of minor consolation prize, right? Like Games Workshop is thinking, well, we have this game, we want some ragtag group of explorers. Yeah, we'll throw Kroot in there because Kroot fit the bill for that. But maybe that's all you're going to get. Maybe you're not going to get your codex, but here, have this model. This will be fun. I think that's a possibility. I don't think that's the largest or most likely possibility, but I think it is a possibility. And if we're looking at what the new Kroot models would look like if there were a codex or if there were a new wave of Kroot, I think this means that we would see a lot of the same features reflected in these new Kroot than we see in this current Kroot. That means not a lot of drastic revisions to the way that they're structured or their bits. Like we probably wouldn't see a new Kroot carnivore box, right? We probably wouldn't see that. We would only see that if they did something like they did with Fire Warriors, where they have strike teams and breacher teams now in the same kit. But overall, I don't think we're going to see a massive revamp of the way that Kroot carnivores look, because this Kroot looks very much like those. Though the only big difference is in his cloak and in his jaw. And so maybe we would see special characters like a new Shaper or new Kroot units that would have this new morphology in their jaw, but we wouldn't see a new kit that has Kroot carnivores with this morphology unless they were, like a cross or a multi-build kit that does carnivores and maybe something like Kroot hawks or something. Then I could see this being incorporated, but again, probably not. So overall, I think that this means that they're looking at Kroot, they're thinking about Kroot at least, they haven't completely forgotten about them. I don't think it necessarily means that a Kroot Codex is coming. I don't think it means that a Kroot Codex isn't coming, but if one does come, I would look to see mostly the same types of features in the Kroot with minor variations and updating with finer detailed casts like we see in this model. So I will probably be searching eBay for this Kroot. I don't know if I'll pick up the full game just to get the model, but nonetheless, I'm pretty excited about it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Are you a fan of this model? Are you disappointed? And do you think we're going to get a new Kroot Codex at some point in the future? Let me know, and as always, happy wargaming. Hey everyone, this video was made possible by my supporters over on Patreon. If you enjoyed this video, consider joining our community over there. Special thanks to Errant Fox, Max Harrison, No Excuses Panda, Jared Egler, Nick Steele, Tao Oswald, Brian Mann, Jake Johnson, Scott J. Smith, Stephen Cohen, Eric Jackson, Andy M. Young, Benjamin, Giovanni DiMaggio, Julian Peck, Peter Benjamin Parker, RP, Timothy K. Piney, and Yuhai Penguin.